Hey internets, time for another quick rant, as well as another channel update at the end of this video about my next high effort video. Anyways, I'd like to go over a bit more in depth on what exactly very specifically makes a product consumer. You know, the meme, don't ask questions, just consume product and then get excited for next products. I talked about this political archetype a bit in my previous video, you know, the one with the Great Rebellion in it, and a few people pointed out, hey, wait a minute Mentis, you're playing a video game in the background, isn't that consuming product? Isn't that a bit hypocritical? Well no, because there's a big difference between being a consumer and being a consumer. Everybody, obviously, is a consumer to some degree. I mean, in the modern world, you have to buy and consume food to be alive, and everyone enjoys something to some degree. Everybody has some kind of hobby that they pay for. Just about everyone reads some kind of fiction series, or watches some kind of TV, or occasionally likes to enjoy a bit of those video games. Everyone is a consumer to some degree. What makes the particularly annoying consumer archetype the absolute failure that it is the don't ask questions part. And this is often followed up by them getting irritated at the fact that you are asking questions. In other words, the eternal consumer is a type of anti-intellectual. Their goal is to shut down any kind of discussion or critique centered around media. And in the case of consumers, it's usually with stupid gotchas like, wow, it's just a game, man. You're a loser. Why do you even care? When they are confronted with an example of, say, ideological propaganda that exists in the game that they are consuming, or movie or book or whatever, with the implication being that you're somehow some kind of a loser for caring about these little things that don't matter, you know, like philosophy, ethics, politics. Yeah, those don't matter. Those don't actually affect anybody. It's not like those things have existed at the core as to why civilizations rise or fall or anything. But in all honesty, this is a case where it's probably best to explain the difference by looking at examples. And perhaps the best place to find those examples is the place where these eternal consumer types exist in near infinite supply. Yep, that's right, I'm talking about Plebit. Let's start with this brilliant poster from Gaming Circle Jerk. So we have a picture of this person, Johan, complaining about what appears to be some pretty obvious and pretty blatant DEI propaganda in video games, and proclaims that it is therefore DOA. Or in other words, Johan refuses to consume the product without asking questions. And Plebit can't have that, can they? No, stop asking questions. Just consume product, and then get excited for next product. The DEI propaganda isn't bothering you, so stop asking questions and consume product with me. This is effectively what makes someone a product consumer. You are not allowed to question narratives, you must shut up and consume. So how about we jump into another example from a different mid-witted subreddit. Let's pay Saltier Than Crow to visit, where you will find memes like these. I hate that this is what trying to find movie reviews is like nowadays, and then it's got a few various videos reviewing the latest of Disney schlop. Basically, this is just a meme that is trying really hard to make fun of people for giving these poorly written, ideologically motivated schlop films a negative review for being the ideologically motivated schlop that it is. And you'll notice here that it says, anti-SJW content farm stuck in 2016. That's just another example of the kind of anti-intellectualism you'll see in the product consumer. Rather than actually addressing points, they'll just say something like, oh, you're stuck in 2016, you're a loser for still caring about this, why don't you just consume product? It's just a pseudo-intellectual way for them to avoid engaging the reasons for why these products suck. The goal of their rhetoric is to avoid having to engage with this criticism by pretending like they are above the criticism. That is what in essence makes the product consumer who does not ask questions and just gets excited for next product. It is therefore not the state of being a consumer that makes them annoying, it's the narcissism that is inherent to this pseudo-intellectual above-it-all attitude. However, things don't just end there. Things get a little bit deeper, because you have to remember that the product consumer archetype is just that, an archetype. It doesn't represent a real person, but is rather just a concept we use to represent a style of thinking that is very common. It is not uncommon at all for those who follow the mindset of the eternal consumer to have overlap with other ways of thinking. The most common of these in modern clown world is product consumers overlapping with woke activists, who use the above-it-all pseudo-intellectualism of the consumer types as a way of disingenuously pretending like they don't know what's going on, when in reality they are fully aware of the propaganda and they relish in it. A good example of this type of dishonest fusion between consumer and activist can probably be found in Hasanabi. Behold this tweet. Yasuke is also a real historical figure prominently featured in a lot of Japanese works. Now, like most midwit takes, this is pedantically correct. It's true that Yasuke is a real historical figure. The problem is that it's painfully obvious that Ubisoft decided to focus the latest Assassin's Creed on him for ESG, diversity, equity, inclusion bucks, and generic woke pandering. It's representation for the sake of representation, aka tokenism, and thus very stupid. Stupid enough so that Hasanabi probably understands this. Hasanabi isn't the brightest breadtuber, but he should at least be able to get this one. Instead, he opted to be disingenuous and pretend like he doesn't understand the discussion behind why people are getting tired of forced representation. Hint, it has nothing to do with racism. And again, Hasanabi probably knows this. The real reason he's defending it is of course because it's upholding his ideology. He's happy to see his beliefs being injected into the propaganda, and so he plays dumb. And this type of activist consumer culture is very common. For example, let's look at another meme from Saltier Than Kraut, where it says, "You mean you want all the Trump-loving far-right scum-sucking rats to leave the fandom forever?" And then it's a Joker meme where it says, "I do, and I'm tired of pretending I don't want everything they think they love ripped from them." You see, these people's minds are trapped in an eternal false dichotomy. They think that anybody who doesn't want to mindlessly consume these products must somehow be literally bad mustache man from mid-century Germany. The idea that everyday normal people are getting tired of all the woke Mary Sues and the terrible writing that tends to come from what literature devil dubbed as the representative school of writing, where writing and storytelling quality takes a back seat to blatant pandering. In this regards, the eternal product consumer exists on somewhat of a sliding scale of awareness between individuals. There are people who are truly oblivious and incapable of asking questions, even if they tried. And then there are those on the other end of the scale who are fully aware of the propaganda, and they want you to stop asking questions. Because they, of course, agree with the injection of this ideology everywhere, and they don't really care if the quality of contributions to the overall culture of society suffers because of it. And in extreme cases, they actually want society to burn, suffer, and fall, because they delusionally believe that some form of socialist utopia will form from the chaos. But oftentimes, it's really just out of pure spite. Or sliding back down to the other end of the spectrum, or the true product consumers, you could say, the ones who are completely unaware of the propaganda. For them, the status of being a product consumer who refuses to ask questions is simply a cope. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that they are simply too lazy to understand philosophy, and so they cope by pretending like philosophy doesn't matter or is not interesting. And to that regard, I can end this by a simple quote from Ayn Rand. As a human being, you have no choice about the fact that you need a philosophy. Your only choice is whether you define your philosophy by a conscious, rational, disciplined process of thought and scrupulously logical deliberation, or let your subconscious accumulate a junk heap of unwarranted conclusions, false generalizations, undefined contradictions, undigested slogans, unidentified wishes, doubts, and fears thrown together by chance, but integrated by your subconscious into a kind of mongrel philosophy and fused into a single solid weight, self-doubt, like a ball and chain in the place where your mind's wings should have grown. Anyways, that's all for the quick rant. Now for that channel update, which is that my next high-effort video, which will be about the death of the corporate gaming journalist industry as a result of their declining quality, pushing woke ideology to cartoonishly bad levels, and dishonest coverage of events such as the Sweet Baby incident, and much more, is almost done. So I should be finally putting that video out in the first half of June. I put quite a bit of time and effort into it, and due to the slightly controversial nature of the video, I've decided to self-sponsor it with my merch store. So the two shirts related to the topic, OK Journo and Gamers Rise Up, shall be $4 off for the month of June. But anyways, that is all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like, subscribe, or if you really enjoyed it, you can support me on Ko-Fi, Subscribestar, or by buying something from my merch shop. And again, OK Journo and Gamers Rise Up are on sale. That is all. Till next time.